thank you for joining us for the second part of this podcast episode. And if you haven't heard the first part, you may want to go back and listen to last week's episode, or there may just be exactly the messages that are meant for you in this section. So here we will begin right where we left off with our last conversation. We hope you enjoy.
But the third topic, and you did a beautiful segue on this, was identity. And this is really the part of what James Clear is talking about that has totally shaken me to the core. And I'm like, oh my God. He says that what we do, or what a lot of us do who have trouble improving in things, and this is 100% me, is we set a goal. Okay. For example, my goal might be I want to lose 40 pounds. It's huge. It's a giant goal. I'm either going to fail at it or I'm going to achieve it. He says, no, no, no. All lasting change comes from a shift in your identity. He says, identity is the thing that it is the hill we will die on. Walk up to an introvert at some point and say, I think you're an extrovert, and watch them. I do this to my husband all the time. It drives him crazy. My husband is a huge introvert. If I ever accuse him of being extroverted, he will. That's not who I am at all. I don't know why you thought that. You're just like, he identifies so strongly with being introverted. Okay. We all have things that we put ourselves, this is the category that I am in. Okay. And we will fight to maintain that identity. The ferocity with which we fight to maintain our identity, we can use that power to change our lives for the better. He said, think about the difference between, so I'm a smoker who's trying to quit, and saying, I am a person who doesn't smoke. I am a person who is healthy. Think about the difference between saying, I'm trying to become a writer or an artist, and the difference between identifying, I am a writer, I am an artist. He tells a personal story about this. He says his book now has sold millions of copies. He has hundreds of thousands of people visit his website. He has an entire business now consulting with corporations and on lasting change. You can check all of the successful boxes, right? He says, I was a not that fantastic writer in high school and college. He said, you can go find any of my teachers and they will say, pretty mediocre. Right? He said, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to write a book. I wanted to become a writer. And so he started a website and he said, here we go back to our small goals, not goals, sorry, our small changes. He said, I'm going to write 2 articles a week on habits on this website. And so he wrote 2 articles a week, every week. Little things, 2 articles a week. And he starts with 20 people reading the site. But what he was doing with those 2 articles a week is he was building evidence. I'll tell you something evidence-based here. So I taught art for 20 years, but if you asked me if I was an artist, I would say, no, not an artist. And Jenn, you had a lot to do with this journey. So, okay. Because I'd never sold a painting. And I thought if I said to people, I'm an artist, that they would come back to me and they would say, well, where's your evidence that you're an artist? Have you ever sold a painting? First off, other people are a lot less interested in your life than you think they are.
And if anybody did say that, like how mean would that be? And
yeah,
it's like, okay, I now know this is not somebody I really want in my life.
Yeah, like
it's a good
that
litmus
would be pretty
test.
cruel anyway, right?
But I had the exact same fear. Absolutely same
Ah,
fear.
we all worry about being judged and not having the evidence to back up what we are. Okay. So the first day he sat down on his crispy brand new website and wrote an article. He was a guy who had written an article. By the time he'd written his 20th article, he could say to himself, if anybody asks me if I'm a writer, I can point to my website and say I've written 20 articles. I walked around as an art teacher for 20 years and never identified as an artist, although I desperately wanted to be one. And there was a coffee shop in our hometown. And Jenn, I remember you encouraged me. They had local artists up on their walls. You encouraged me to walk up, ask the time she was the manager. Now she's the owner. Woohoo, Dopey Bunny. And, and ask her what I needed to do to hang up my paintings. And I remember the night that you and I went in to hang up, you were hanging artwork there too at the same time. And
Yeah.
I remember I was putting all these paintings on the wall and I wanted to price them at $20. And you went, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I just want one to sell." And you were like, "They are going to sell." And I remember I let you raise up the prices a little bit, but the thing was I wanted people to enjoy the art, but also deep down, if I sold a painting, that was evidence that I was an artist in my head. And so I was willing to sell a painting for $5 if it meant I could get that. There's that little reward, right? That evidence there that I needed to prove to myself that I was an artist. And we hung up all the paintings, and I went home and I tried not to look at my phone to see if she would message me and tell me that a painting had sold. And the first message I got from her about a week later was, "How many more paintings do you have?" I think I'd sold like 4 in a week. And I was only supposed to be hanging in the coffee shop for a month, and she ended up extending it to 6 months because I was selling them so fast. I became basically like the person who had sold the most artwork out of that coffee shop. Now, then I could point and say, "I've sold 50 paintings." And I started walking around going, "Yeah, I'm an artist. I'm an artist." And it gave me the courage I needed to do the artwork that would appear on my books. Same thing happened with the books. Terrified to say I'm a writer. Well, why are you a writer if you haven't published anything? Right. And when that first book came out and I held it in my hands, I had evidence. My identity had changed. And then I kept going. And now I go, I got 10 books out, right? Another one's in the works. I have people writing me asking when the next book will come out. Being a writer and an artist has become part of my identity. And because it's become part of my identity, I maintain it. I don't think about, "Oh, I got to sit down and write today." I mean, are there times when, it won't be easy? Absolutely, as you're doing these things. But once something is part of your identity, it then becomes so much easier to continue to walk that path. And the way that you form that identity is by creating evidence for yourself. So he says, rather than be goal oriented, be identity oriented. Go ahead and say, "Yeah, I'm the CEO of my company." Now, your company might literally just be your website, it might just be the logo you made, right? You're a CEO without a very large company at this point. But once you set up that LLC, you are the CEO of your company. You're also the financial manager and the marketer and all of the employees. But you have a company. It is evidence. And then what you're going to do is every day or every 2 days, 1% more evidence towards this thing, right? And then you, he said, and then suddenly it was beyond my wildest dreams. He said, I never would have imagined being a best-selling author. I never would have imagined, all these big corporations coming to me for advice. I never would have imagined a million hits on my website. But he did it through building this evidence, making it part of his identity. He said, we hold on to our identities so strongly that we have to be able to, and he does a whole thing in the book on where identity comes from. And I'll let everybody read that part because that's where I think the heavy lifting comes in. But he talks about if you can be flexible and open with your identity and allow it to grow and encompass new things, that is where your change is going to come in. He talks about he has a friend who was, this is a great example of this. He wanted to lose weight. She lost 100 pounds. And the way she did it was not by saying, I'm going to lose 100 pounds. He walked through her day, every day, every time she had a choice, she said, what would a healthy person do? They would order the salad. They would not take the cab. They would walk the 4 blocks. They would turn off the TV and go to bed early. What would a healthy person do? Remember those bracelets they used to have, the What Would Jesus Do bracelets, right?
Yes.
So think about the first step in becoming the person that you want to be is figuring out who you want to be and making it your identity. So instead of me saying, I want to make it through a year where I don't kill all my houseplants, I am now walking around. I don't have a lot of evidence yet, but I am walking around going, I am a plant person. I am a plant person. So far, I have 2 plants in my kitchen right now that I have not killed yet. I took photographs of them and I sent them to another Jennifer that I know who is a dear friend of mine. I love to surround myself with glorious Jennifers. And I said, this is the year I am a plant person. Look at these plants. Look at these plants. And she is a plant person I admire. And she wrote back, but one looks so healthy. Now it looks healthy because I got it at the store less than 24 hours ago. But I have not killed it yet. It's an incremental thing. I am now thinking of myself as a plant person and putting myself out there with other plant people. I might be a new at it, but it is going to become part of who I am. And if every day I set up systems where I water one plant, I read an article about fertilizers, maybe I start saving money for a bunch of grow lights, I get together with friends and have a cutting exchange. By the time 2026 rolls around, I'm going to be a plant person.
Yeah. And I think so much of that is loving, like finding the love for the thing that it is that you want to be and that you want to embody. And some of that is a good way to build those new habits as well. In the Reiki classes, we talk about sending Reiki to your goals. So if you're somebody that has Reiki, and even if you don't, you could use whatever practices you use to infuse your intentions and call light to them. Ask Mother Nature to infuse this, or whatever your practices are. You can use those when it comes to the idea of setting your intentions and your really adding oomph to the love that you have for these new habits and these new ways of being. So what we'll do is we'll send Reiki to the intention of I am whatever it is. I am a plant person. I love plants. I am in relationship with plants. I enjoy this relationship with them, and I am attuned to their needs, and I naturally flow with what it is that they need. It's the finding that we talk about, finding the love for it. So I want to start exercising every day. A lot of times people look at that as like drudgery. It's like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to have to do this, but I'm going to do it because of it. But if you think of like, I want to be a person, somebody like I think of my husband, Keith, and his love for running. And he looks at training as another opportunity to go out there and just be a runner, to be outside, to be in his body, to release the stresses of the day and the tensions, and how much better he's going to feel and how great he's going to feel. So if you can look at the thing that you want to be, like if you really want to be fit and in shape, then develop a like love for the idea of really being fit. Like you were talking about with the plant person, you know, like I love being healthy and fit. It feels so good to be in my body. It was interesting. My body has started shifting in the way that it is, I don't know, in the amount of fat and shape and where things are. And I had started this a while ago where I would just say, I love being in my body. It just feels good being in my body. And I would look in the mirror and say, and even though typically normally if I were to look in the mirror, I would just be like, oh God, oh, the roll there and this there. And, you know, instead I would look and go, wow, look at me. I love being in my body. My body is fit and healthy and it feels so good. And the more I started talking to myself that way, and it was that identity thing, that seeing myself as someone who is fit and healthy and loves being in their body, it started shifting things. And I swear it started looking different. I started looking different to myself in the mirror. And I also then naturally started eating a little differently. And the things I wanted were different because as this person who loves being in my body and loves the way that it looks in him, and I would tell myself as I was eating, like, oh, I can just feel how toned and fit my body feels. And it changed everything. And so I think finding the love, like why is it that you want to be a plant person? Why is it that you want to, you know, lose certain weight or be more fit or have the job that you're wanting, you know, whatever it is, what about that I want? Why do I want that to begin with? And it's like, well, I want it because I want to feel good in my body, or I am manifesting who I really am in this life. I feel like I'm sharing more of my gifts. And so having that focus be more about how it feels to be that, and then just loving it, that will help and make it easier to do the steps that at the beginning are harder to do. You know, it's not something that we're used to doing and it's harder. But if we can do it from a place of love and just cultivating that love for whatever it is. So in the meantime, if you can sort of jump to just the feeling of what it will feel like to be in whatever that is, it tends to be really helpful.
One of the other things I want to bring up, and this isn't from the book, this is more from personal experience, is magic words. We all know that words have a lot of power. And this is a story I've told before on the podcast. Both my husband and I had a terrible habit of saying, oh God, I'm so old, when we really weren't. And Jenn, it's so funny because I always love to say, Jenn is the kindest, sweetest person I know. So if she says something with like even a tiny degree of ferocity, I know that I better listen to it. And you left me this Marco
To get on my mom voice a little bit.
Yes, that was you are not old. You are not at the end of your life. You are, a vibrant person. But I had gotten into this habit that must have gratified me in some way. It must have been a reward for me in some way to say it, um, of describing myself as old. And I didn't even realize, even as jokes, that I was saying it all the time. And then I realized my husband was saying it all the time about himself. And it's really funny. It's now been months after I brought this to his attention, after you brought it to my attention, where he'll go, oh God, I'm getting too old for this. And I'll say, you're not allowed to say that anymore. Gente says you're not allowed to say that anymore. And he will literally go, sorry, Gente, and just like fix himself. So one of the things is I started looking at who I wanted to be over this vacation. And it turns out I want to be a lot of things, but I was also celebrating the things that I'd already been. But I knew that there were probably things in the way that I talk to myself and things that my husband and I have the sort of same relationship. and I don't know, I'm sure other people have these relationships. The relationship, I think somewhere in his brain, he's like still the boy who wants to pull the girl he likes his pigtails, right? Where you tease each other all the time. Like he gets great delight in saying something he knows will get my goat just to watch me go, "What?" And then he just sits there and laughs, right? That's part of how we play together. And so I knew that I needed to talk to him about the words that he uses when he's teasing me, even if he doesn't mean them, because I was going to be starting out on some new identity things here. And I needed support, not teasing. Right. So it was very funny. The very first day, one of the things we do is we have a dog that's super neurotic and she has to eat under very specific conditions. And so while she's eating her breakfast, a lot of times my husband and I lie in bed and talk. And I said to him, I'm going to get up and go get on the treadmill after this. Hadn't done this before. And he looked at me and he went, Really? Right? Oh no. Okay. I don't need, he's just teasing me. And he's justified in this, in that I have never popped out of bed and gone and gotten on a treadmill before. But I said, Yeah, I am a person who likes to exercise. And he looked like I'd hit him over the head with a frying pan. He said, What? And I said, I am a person who enjoys exercise because I am a healthy individual. Now, there is no evidence for this yet. It is literally the first day. And he just sort of sat there and blinked for a minute. And then he said, Hey, what do I need to say to help you? And
I
I
love
said,
that.
When I come out of that treadmill room, I don't want you to make a big deal about it because I'm not absolutely sure that day two is going to happen. But I just, maybe a smile and a wave would be good for me. I unfortunately also have a horrific rebellious streak where if I do something and someone gives me too much praise for it, then I don't want to do it. It's really bad. Any therapists listening to this podcast, I'm probably a great candidate for you.
I think a
Yeah,
lot of people have that though. There is definitely that part of like, now you expect it of me, or now you think I'm going to do it again. So now, yeah, I don't think you're alone in that by any means.
there's yeah, I'm horribly rebellious about stuff. The sad thing is I'm rebelling against things from when I was 10, right? I would get mad that I had to be, you're going to bed now. I couldn't stay up and read, right? And so now it will be 2 o'clock in the morning. My eyes are tired. I am exhausted. And I'm still like, I'm staying up as late as I want. Okay. Poor choices, right? And this all goes back to goals and the way that I was brought up and all of these things. And I'm going to have to take a deep dive into all of that. But I can cut through a lot of that by saying, what would a healthy person do right now? What is it that I still do? What systems do I still have in place that aren't helping me to provide the evidence that I am already who I want to become? We have incredible potential. There are other human beings who have lost weight, who have not killed their houseplants, who have exercised regularly, who have made improvements to their lives, who run their own companies. You see them every day. And this is not impossible, but it has been for me in a lot of areas up until now because I did not believe in my heart that I really could become the person I've always wanted to be. And so surrounding yourself with people like my lovely Gente here, who is on the lookout for the negative reinforcement I give myself with words and the magic words or magic gestures that I have now told my husband I need to have to support me. These are all things that are going to help me believe that I really am worthy of having the life that I want.
Yeah, and that was another little thing I had pinned in the back of my brain to mention was the importance of becoming aware of our language. And I know we talk about the creative power of our words and our thoughts. And it's so many times, it's the things that we say jokingly to ourselves or each other that have a lot of that underpinning of keeping in the old, keeping up that thing that I don't want and reinforcing that and just trying to tip the scales. We don't have to be 100%, but we just want to tip the scale of everything more in the direction of where we want to be. And I'm still working on this, but I find that one of the barriers for me is the idea of not being honest in what I'm saying. I realize I'm not necessarily there yet, and how I'm representing myself to someone else. And it may just be in my house. Maybe it's a day when I wake up and I'm not feeling great. But what I really want to do is embody and bring in that energy of health and vitality. And so I'm telling myself, I am vital, I am healthy, and I'm building all that up. But then I go downstairs and I see my mom who's like, oh, how are you feeling? And I get this massive freak out of, okay, I want to be honest in the sense that I'm not actually feeling particularly well. And then there's also these other sorts of senses of well, if I don't accomplish a lot of things today because I'm letting myself rest because I feel like I might be getting something, if I'm telling them I'm feeling great, then it's maybe there's more likelihood of somebody asking me to do more, or you're being oh, well, can you do this and that and the other? And then I would have to be no, I really can't because I need to rest because I'm not actually feeling great. Yeah. But there's that wanting to embody that. And I find there's kind of that continual, where is the line? And it's funny, I find in those kinds of situations too, it brings out what might be underlying why I'm more likely to want to be sick. Maybe my body needs to be sick right now because I'm not setting the boundaries. And it's funny sometimes when you go to break a habit, and granted, we're trying to just form new habits, not break old habits. But when we start looking at what we're doing and why, oftentimes we'll start to find the nugget of what that reward is when we start letting go of it. And there can be a fear there of, what if this were suddenly healed and then I didn't have the excuse of, I'm sorry, I can't, my joints are hurting really badly, or I can't do that because, of whatever the health condition is that prevents you from doing that. So sometimes those things are creating boundaries for you that feel so socially acceptable because it's well, I can't use my hands because they're so swollen and painful right now. I can't possibly help you build that or do whatever it is. So as we're going along, sometimes we come upon these realities of, oh, okay, so if I want to continue to move forward in these habits, I'm going to have to let go of some things and be willing to start building another habit of setting boundaries and upholding my own boundaries now, because without this illness or without this overload in my schedule or whatever the things are, it's going to appear as though I could be doing more. And if I'm not comfortable deciding, often those things that are helping us keep that up are going to persist. So it's good as you're going through to have some other ways that you can go, okay, when I come upon something, what are my ways of processing it? What are going to be my ways of letting go of this, of recognizing it? And I know we have lots of episodes talking about ways of moving through emotions or things like that, or reach out to somebody, but it's a normal thing as you're coming along. If all of a sudden you're I'm making so much progress, and then something comes up, to recognize that that's actually a good, healthy thing, that came up because you're really getting to the root of what was keeping you in a different kind of pattern. What was that reward I was getting? And then you have that the opportunity to say, Okay, am I willing to let go of that and build a new habit in its place in order to keep this momentum going?
I think that's all wonderful. Um, and it reminded me of sometimes you have to do a little experimentation to figure out if the stories that you tell yourself are in fact true.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of this. So couple of years ago when I was a teacher, I finally, after managing to dodge it for so long and getting all my vaccines and everything, I contracted COVID. And I was so disappointed because it felt like, oh, I made it so long. And unfortunately, I am a person with a medical predisposition. My chance of getting a blood clot is very high. And I had no idea that a lot of people get blood clots when they have COVID. So I wasn't even looking out for it. But what started to happen after I thought I was better is my one leg is swelling. There's tons of pain in it. And I basically walked around for a month and a half because I did not want to go to the doctor with a blood clot in my leg, right? Very dangerous. So when I finally did go to the doctor and they went ER right now, right? And I went there and I was put on blood thinners and everything, but my leg was still really painful. And because it was so painful, I wasn't moving around very much. I couldn't exercise without being in a tremendous amount of pain. And I got into this habit of I would stand up for a little while and I could kind of predict about how long standing I could manage before big bad pain was going to come hit me hard. Okay. And so meanwhile, of course, I'm not getting stronger. A lot of my muscles are, I'm basically going from chair to chair to chair all day trying to avoid pain. It became a habit of mine. So months pass, the medicine works, I am pronounced blood clot free. But in my brain, I now had this habit where every time I stood up, there would be this countdown in the back of my head. Uh-oh, all right, you're getting close to pain time. Okay. And I would find a chair and sit down. And there were lots of things I didn't do because there wasn't going to be a chair in the room. Where I would make choices of, I can't do that. There's no chairs. I would scout out. I knew where every chair was in every grocery store, and I now, even though the medical condition was no longer there, I was so afraid of pain that I just kept living as though I still had a blood clot in my leg, right? Didn't exercise much and was getting, the longer term this went on, the less healthier I was getting. So one of the things that has happened over this break is I said to myself, I need to find out if this is true because I've been living like this for like 2 years. How long can I actually stand up? How long could I walk on a treadmill before pain sets in? As soon as pain sets in, question answered, I can turn everything off. I'm good. I have my answer. And if it turns out that it really is 5 minutes, then I will go see a doctor. We will try to figure this out. Of course, what I was also ignoring was the fact that I do go to the grocery store regularly and walk all over that thing holding onto a cart. I'd also gotten attached, I think, to the idea of having something to hold on to. So, got brave, went upstairs. Treadmill has things you can hold on to. I can hit the stop button at any point. And I remember hitting the 5 minute mark and being very nervous, and there was no pain. And so I went for the 10 minute mark. And now I'm going real slow. I'm not walking uphill. There's no angle. There's no speed. I'm just walking. 10 minute mark. Apparently, I'm still strong enough to hit 10 minutes. 15 minutes. Fine. 20 minutes. Now I'm starting to get a little bit of a sore muscle because I haven't walked this long in months and months and months. But now I have it in my head. I can go 20 minutes and no debilitating pain will come. So I started noticing over these last few weeks, I stopped looking for the chairs in places. I would go into a store to run an errand and go, you know what? I am not going to be in the store more than 20 minutes. I can pull this off. And I would go do what I needed to do, and I would leave. And I would sit down in the car again and go, I can do anything for 20 minutes. So the story that I had been telling myself was based on a habit that was formed under a very particular circumstance, was no longer true. But I hadn't done the experimentation to figure out if it was. And as a result, my health has suffered over the last 2 years because of it.
That it's a really wonderful example of so many things in our lives that we hold on to. We have that brain construct that was formed in a very specific situation that we continue to generalize to everything long after it's done. And I think psychologically and emotionally, we have, maybe something that happened with a teacher when we were in kindergarten who said, you're not a good artist. You can't draw. You're not good at this. You'll never be a whatever. And we hold on to that as truth and we replay it for ourselves as truth and then use that. And this becomes this permanent limiting factor based on, it could be literally one person said something. And I always love the inspirational stories of people that went on to do incredible things and what someone had told them or many people told them about their abilities. I guess it was just after New Year's and we were up late and my daughter said, and I'll just spell it so it doesn't set everybody's devices off, Alexa, Happy New Year. And she said, Happy New Year, and then told us this inspiring story about Walt Disney having been fired from some early job that he had, saying that he had no imagination. And I was like, that is so fantastic. If he had held on to that story, if he had taken that in and held on to that as truth and continued to replay that, how different would his entire life be? Would all of our lives be had he listened to that? And actually, it reminds me, there's this book called Seeds and Trees, and my daughter loves this book. And in it, there's like this prince who is given seeds, and the seeds are like a word or something that someone has said to him, and that the seeds were green. If someone had said something kind and loving and supportive, he got a green seed. And if they said something that was mean or hurtful or whatever, it would be a black seed. But he kept all the seeds and he planted all of them and he watered and tended to all of them. And so it goes through this forest and seeing the trees and as they're growing and playing in the trees from green seeds and how he felt good and all of these things. And then when he played in the trees of the seeds of the other, they were thorny and they cut him and made him feel bad, but he would continue to play in all of them. And over time, the dark seeds continued to grow and started choking out the others. And then somebody comes along and is telling him, you can choose what you plant. When someone gives you these dark seeds, cast them out into the sea, and you can also go back and dig up these other ones, and found that the roots of a lot of those dark trees were wound around some of the roots of the green trees. And it's a really beautiful story. But I think most of us have planted all of the dark seeds. And in fact, I think more tend to those seeds than we do the positive, though. And the green seeds were more likely to discount, and the harmful, hurtful kinds of things that we're told are the ones that we're more likely to put more focus on because they're so disturbing. And I think going through and really analyzing, where did this come from? Why do I think that I can't sing, that I can't draw, or I'm not an artist, or I'm not somebody who exercises, or you're not creative, or whatever those things are, and look at them as, are they true? And what is truth? What is true? And it doesn't have to be something that's based in evidence. It can be just, I'm an artist because that is who I am. My spirit loves to create. And I am an artist, and my art is the way that I look at the world. It's the way that I approach things that I do. It's the way that I, put the spoons on the rack. I'm an artist because that's who I am. And there doesn't need to be evidence to prove that. And I think the more we start looking beneath, like just keep looking deeper and deeper into, okay, is this true? You need to really look at what am I doing and why? And ultimately, it probably is going to come down to some sort of original wound. And then you can look at, okay, where does that come from? And there's a deeper and a deeper truth. And ultimately, the truth is, I am an aspect of the divine. I am magnificent just by the fact that I am. And when you're looking for the truth, if you end up anywhere but that's who I really am, then, dig deeper. And when you compare that to maybe the things that you're doing or saying, it's easier to look at if the truth of who I am is that I am good enough just by virtue of the fact that I am here. And that is my proof. The fact that I am breathing is the proof that I am valuable, that there is a reason for my existence and that I am wonderful. Then you can start comparing everything else against that and things start to fall. And then you can act more from that knowledge and that truth as you move through your life.
It's important to remember too, when you're looking at truth, that humans have a natural bias towards the negative. It's a survival instinct. We tend to look for threats. And I'm trying to remember what the exact statistic is. I remember reading it somewhere that they said a human will leave a positive review for something, but it's something like 7 times more likely to leave a negative review or to pass on a negative story. And it's because it goes back to, as the animals that we are, you are constantly scoping for threats, right? I mean, think about a deer, right? They're always looking to see, are the wolves coming this way? And our brains are hardwired. A lot of times you talked about how we hold on to the black seeds, and a lot of times give more attention to them than the green ones. That's part of us biologically, that we have a tendency to lean towards the negative. Open up any comment section on any website and you will see the evidence of this, right? We tend to not only look towards, oh, that could go bad, but to also spread it and sort of be like, I'm trying to help protect the herd. I'm trying to help protect the herd, right? And also just as a way of expressing our role in it. And so, when someone says something to you about you are selfish and you find yourself replaying that over and over and over in your head. Oh God, they said I was selfish. Oh, what must they think of me? You all know you fight those battles long after those conversations have ended, right? And it's still sitting in there. Keep in mind that A, what they said may not have even been about you. They might have been projecting themselves. B, it's probably based on a fear they have, either about themselves or about something else. And C, give yourself some grace, because one of the reasons that you are holding on to that negative statement is because you are biologically hardwired to. And so it can be really hard to go back against that bias sometimes and say, no, I'm really okay. What Jenn was talking about. No, I am here. I am a divine creature. Do I screw up? Sure. Do I do everything perfectly? No, I'm a human being, but I'm a human with the spark of the divine in me. And I am allowed to celebrate myself. I am allowed to have days. Sometimes you have to have a sick day to get over the being sick so you can continue on your journey as a generally healthy person. All of those things are allowed. You can say, I'm a healthy individual having an off day. All of that is allowed. But just keep in mind that one of the reasons why you may be beating yourself up is because of the fact that you are always on the lookout for the wolves, and that's part of your brain makeup. Like scientists have proven this time and time and time again, and there are tons of studies on this. So give yourself some grace because sometimes your brain is highlighting the negative just based on something you can't control.
Yeah, absolutely. And it came up for me very strongly that I wanted to tap in and see what Samael has to say about some of these things.
All right. This might just take me a minute because he is holding forth.
Yeah, no, take your
And he's
time.
talking about heroes.
Ooh, while you're writing, I feel like I have to sing this for whatever reason, so I'm
Go
just going to
for it.
do this while you're writing. Oh no,
Have something here. It'll be interesting to see. Huh.
again
Sorry,
real
it started
quick.
up again.
No, you're good. I feel like for some reason I might should do that again. While you're writing, I'm going to switch mics and sing that with the other mic real quick. like, thank you for humoring me in that. I was like, no, I have to, this has to come
No,
out
no,
right
that
now,
was
apparently.
lovely. It was lovely, and having it going on helped because he started and then he kind of stopped, and then he had more to say that started. I could hear more clearly when you were singing.
Oh, good.
Okay. Would you like to hear what he had to say on
Oh,
our topic?
absolutely. You know I
Okay,
do.
let's see. So, um, interestingly enough, he began talking about heroes and fame. So here are the words that I have from Samael today. Who are your heroes in this incarnation? Your inspirations, your muses, those that walk legendary in your mind. Were they all born into this life, swathed in beauty, in prosperity, in fame? Who we look upon with admiration says much of us, and their potential is no different from yours. The most famed among your kind, not the charlatans who lie and steal their way into power, but the truly talented. Look at them closely. Are they perfect in visage? Did their knowledge not come at a price? Did they reach out despite humble beginnings? They started the same place as you. You stand on the ground and have not far to see, but I can. And I tell you, just on the other side of the next mountain is a paradise of wildness, place in which you can become a legend of your own. I will lend you my wings to see, and one day you will realize you had your own set all along. Starstruck. Those of us that visit you are already starstruck by your journey. Keep walking and know that you have always been one of us. Celebrate this incarnation. Free yourself from the crumbling towers in which you reside. And know, by becoming embodied for the benefit of us all, that you are already among our most praised and adored.
Wow.
It was when you think about celebrity, we very much live in a world of gossip blogs, and I can't think of how many times I see there's the tabloids when you go through the supermarket. We have whole television shows that are devoted, we love to hear about these people who have quote unquote made it, these celebrities. And I think one of the things that he's talking about, um, and I wouldn't have thought that this would be an adjoining topic to what we were speaking of, but it is. We look at someone who's famous and we say they must have something special that I don't have, right? They, you know, they had some incredible luck, or they have a talent I can never hope to achieve, or they are so much smarter than I am. And but when we really look at them and at their lives, and also just look at their faces, some of the most celebrated people in our culture, people who we feel are truly talented, are not necessarily any better looking than we are, right? They didn't necessarily all come from a life of privilege where they had access to the best of everything. They, we always hear about like Nepo babies and stuff like that, right? And think, well, they have their own TV show because their parents are insanely famous. Those things do happen. But one of the people that brings to mind, Patrick Stewart, right? So Patrick Stewart, you guys remember Captain Picard, right, from Star Trek: The Next Generation? Can you not love Patrick Stewart? An incredibly gifted Shakespearean actor. He has world fame, not only from the Star Trek series, but from he was in all the X-Men movies. Patrick Stewart grew up incredibly impoverished. And his life story, he started out in these humble beginnings. And now you sort of look at where he is. I have never heard anybody say a bad word about Patrick Stewart. So many people look up to him as this incredible uh, actor. He also uses his voice for good. I remember when a few years ago, when the Me Too movement was really getting underway, there was this great meme of him standing there looking grumpy, holding this sign for championing women and victims. And he said something in an interview about everybody listens to old white men. Well, I am one. And so I'm going to use my voice for people who don't have a voice. And I mean, holy cow, he's amazing. If we look at him, is he good looking? Yes, he's good looking, but he's not model good looking. He's not young. He's accomplished and centered and grounded, and he gives every role that he plays this sense of gravitas, this feeling of roots, of being sort of the center around which everything else whirls. But I think a lot of us assume that most celebrities just have this special sauce we don't. But the reality is that Patrick Stewart was just like all of us at one point, right? Um, Another one that comes to mind is Mick Jagger, who everybody knows Mick Jagger, okay? One of the most successful, famous singing careers in the world. Is Mick Jagger model quality, right? Does he have an operatic singing voice? No. Mick Jagger is insanely talented. We absolutely adore and love the stuff that he has produced over the years, even though I'm sure at some point he thought, oh, that guy's a little bit better looking than me, or oh, that guy has a better singing voice than me. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's just Mick Jagger and has that incredible confidence that he brings out on stage all along. But I'm betting at some point when he was a teenager, he had moments of doubt, just like we do. I think what Samael is trying to remind us of is that these people who inspire us and move us and who walk through the world with such confidence, they all started off where we started off, which means all of us have the potential to be an inspiration, to be a legend, to reach out and bring joy into the lives of others. No matter what we look like, no matter how old we are, no matter the quality of our singing voice, we all have that. And so, what we just need to remember is we are a divine being that is incarnated in a human body right now. And that alone, as you were saying before, is an act of heroism. We are trying to help the universe move forward in terms of knowledge. This is some of the stuff that Samael talks about extensively. So if you haven't heard that before, but that's one of the things that he speaks of often. And that we often just in these human bodies can't see what's right on the other side of the mountain. The fact that the breakthrough that we think we need is so much closer than we realize. And so the thing is, not to quote Finding Nemo, but just keep swimming, that 1% better a day. And we are so much more powerful and so much more loved and so much more talented than we give ourselves credit for.
Absolutely. And I think I'm tempted to have you read Samael's words one more time because
Okay.
I don't think we can hear them too much. Probably
Okay.
cannot hear them enough.
Who are your heroes in this incarnation? Your inspirations, your muses, those that walk legendary in your mind. Were they all born into this life, swathed in beauty, in prosperity, in fame? Who we look upon with admiration says much of us, and their potential is no different from yours. The most famed among your kind, not the charlatans who lie and steal their way into power, but the truly talented. Look at them closely. Are they perfect in visage? Did their knowledge not come at a price? Did they reach out despite humble beginnings? They started the same place as you. You stand on the ground and have not far to see, but I can. And I tell you, just on the other side of the next mountain is a paradise of wildness, place in which you can become a legend of your own. I will lend you my wings to see, and one day you will realize you had your own set all along. Starstruck, those of us that visit you are already starstruck by your journey. Keep walking and know that you have always been one of us. Celebrate this incarnation. Free yourself from the crumbling towers in which you reside. And know, by becoming embodied for the benefit of us all, that you are already among our most praised and adored.
As you were reading it the first time through, the word empowerment came to me as you were reading it. And I was thinking, I think that the song that was coming through me may hold an empowerment for those words. What I mean by empowerment is an energetic boost placed there by the angels for each person to feel and be able to take in that energy. And I know angels talk a lot about how they have infused an empowerment into their words or into certain things. And I would certainly love if Samael has anything to say about the song that came through. But as you were reading the words, I was like, oh my goodness, that's what it felt like coming through, was like what it would feel like to embody and know all the things that he was saying.
Yep, he's talking about it right now. She is correct. It is a calling for the souls to gather, calling to join. Hold on, we have more coming. Whoa. Okay, here we go. I've got stuff on the song. Okay, she is correct. It is a calling for the souls to gather, calling to join, to come together in the temple to celebrate unlimited potential, to dance atop the concept of your unworthiness and trample it underfoot back into the earth, where it will be placed back in the cycle and healed. Dance to it.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for bringing that through because there was so much power in the feeling of power and of that just empowerment in not just the empowerment that was coming through and being given to each person listening to this, but the amount of power that it brings in was just, it was so strong. So I'm really grateful to hear that.
I am so curious now if you take the recording of that and go and dance to it, what will manifest?
Yeah. And I think that I can make this into a bonus content of taking that recording. And I guess we can figure out if the first raw recording or the recording with the little bit of effects would be better, but maybe I can take the recording and loop it so that people can dance this for themselves and be able to have immediate access to it of like, I want to go back and dance to this when I get home from the grocery store or finish what I'm doing or whatever it is, and make it easy for people to access. And for honestly, for myself, I'm going to do this for myself anyway, because I want to be able to dance to that. And I highly recommend anybody who wants to, it's very pretty simple and repetitive, to sing with me, because that main part, it just feels good.
It's really funny because you were talking about repetitive, and right before you said that, he said repeat, repeat, repeat 9 times the number of completion. So I guess you're supposed to loop it 9 times,
No.
and that it is supposed to be a calling for souls to gather to celebrate unlimited potential and to trample underfoot. I'm paraphrasing here, and to trample underfoot and bury back into the earth concept of your own unworthiness. That once it's in the earth will basically filter it and heal what's there and place that energy back into the cycle of all things. This leads me to something that when we talk about, we have a whole episode, by the way, if you haven't heard it, on Lilith and worth. And worth is a big topic for Samael a lot in the past 9 months. And he says to me all the time, why do you consider that someone else is more worthy than you? Why do you think they can bring things through and you cannot? And it's just a habit I picked up at some point to set my own worthiness below that of others. And then I imagine it was reinforced over time in some way. And he very much wants to communicate that that is nonsense. And that thought, that reoccurring thought that others are more worthy than we are, needs to be set aside. And that's a tough one to do, but I'm working on it.
Yep. And we have yet another tool from Samael and the guides who spoke through me to do that. So let's sing it and dance it and bring it into manifestation. And so the repeating it to make sure that I get him correctly, it's the entire song, like take that entire track and repeat that 9 times.
He says the phrase, and when you were singing, there was like a little group of three,
Yeah.
that 9 times, that whole phrase. Is that, yeah, repeat that 9 times. So when there's that natural pause, take everything up to that point 9 times to give enough time for the old stories that we no longer want to carry with us to be dropped back into the earth and placed underfoot and left behind us.
What I'm wondering is, while the energy is so strong, I feel like I should sing it right now. And I'll let you give me a sense of what feels more powerful, singing it with this mic or singing it with the echoey kind of
Okay.
mic. So I'll just do one little round of it just to get a sense with this one.
Okay.
So there's that one.
This is going to sound crazy. He said sing as a round. Can you use them both? Oh, wait. I think he's saying the first one without the reverb as a round, and then the second one with the reverb just the 9 times. I feel like both of them are so strong.
All right.
Would you mind doing two versions? I don't know how the first one will sound as a round, but like if
Let
the
me
plain
see.
version goes as a round and then the other one is just the extended, because they're
Yeah.
both gorgeous.
Um,
Apparently, he has gotten into composing music with your voice at this point. That last little phrase that was different from the others,
uh-huh.
he says three times. Do three
Okay.
times. And then he said, as you were singing, yes, yes, bells and drums and rattles overlap, belong. And he said to play it for Keith.
All right.
Bells and drums and
Bells
rattles, like
and
it's
drums
supposed to
and
be a
rattles.
base layer for other things to build on. And he said, add slowly, begin and end with pure song. I have not had him do this before.
This is amazing.
Yeah, you were doing it, and he was going, yes, yes, bells and drums and rattles overlap, belong. And he said, play for the hunter. And I basically went, Keith, and he went, yes. And then when you got to the last verse, he said three times, do three times, add slowly, begin and end with pure song.
All right. So 3 times, just
That last little, you do a little thing at the end in closing,
no.
repeat that three
Repeat
times.
that part, that
Yeah,
little
so you
thing,
have
just
three
the three.
total.
Okay. At the end of the 9.
And now he's going, no, oh God, now he's getting into numerology. 9 and 3, 9 and 3. 12 is 3, is the number of love. Yep.
So the other one that he was saying was should be with a round was
I'd
with
be really curious to see what that sounds like as a round. I don't know what's going on with him, but he is drawing, he's having me draw solar crosses like crazy. Circle, 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 cross. Circle, 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 cross.
all right. Well, you draw your solar
I'm
crosses.
Seraphim Doodles. Yeah.
All right, I will sing this and
You actually do add bells and drums and rattles over top of that. I am dying to hear it.
oh, we will.
I
I
don't know.
will
I am not.
absolutely.
I am not a musician. I don't know what this will sound like. I'm just passing it on.
Oh, hey, yeah, Samael says do it, I'm definitely doing it. So, yeah, there's no doubt about that. There will be drums and rattles, or bells and drums and rattles, and
Bells and drums and rattles.
yes, bells
Oh, and
and
didn't
drums and
Keith just get
rattles.
a rattle for Christmas?
He did, and the Sacred Hunter rattle, no less, has a handle of a deer antler that was collected in the woods that was like naturally shed. And
Oh,
yeah, I that's true. He just got a rattle. Oh, I'm very excited now. Okay, all right. I need to sing
you
this
just
one. All
keep
right,
saying
let's
the
see what
calling.
happens.
It is the calling. I maybe that's what you want her to title it? Yes, yes, yes.
All right,
I don't
the
know if you already have a
calling.
song called The Calling, but
I do not. I do now. The calling. Oh, this is so cool. Okay, all right. I'll sing the other version.
okay.
I realized it was hard to keep count. I was trying to keep count on my fingers.
Oh, it's funny. He said, much power to go into the lungs. Yes, Umshala, and started
Oh,
laughing.
yeah. I was like, losing my breath. Yeah, one of them, I was like, all right, ran out of breath. I need to take more deep breaths in between.
He said, play, play. It will draw them together. I think he wants you to play around with it and loop it in different ways. And
Yeah,
but I love the
I will
much
take
power to
that.
go into the lungs. Yes, Umshala. And he started laughing.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
This is really cool. I did not expect that this podcast would end with him wanting to actually compose music with your voice.
Yeah, wow. This is super exciting. I cannot wait to experiment with it in round and add bells and drums and rattles and all that the Sacred Hunter is going to add to this as well. This is super awesome.
It's really, really cool. And I am dying if you guys do it and record it to hear it because,
Yeah. Oh, we absolutely will. And if nothing else, I will get the first version 9 times and I'll add the 3 at the end and we can stick that on as bonus material to make sure that people can dance and sing to this. And so if it takes a little bit longer to get the other components together, the bells and rattles and I keep wanting to say whistles, but
bells and drums and
and bells and
rattles.
drums and rattles in there. I will find a way of getting that on something that people
He
can
just
access
said
as well.
zills. Do you own zills? Aren't those the
Zills.
little
I
like
was gonna
belly
say I
dance
don't even know
things?
what that is. Zills. All right, let me write down
Let's look. Hold on, I'll look up on my phone.
zills.
Zills. I think they use them in the Middle East. I think belly dancers dance with them. Let me see.
Gotcha.
Let me look. Zills. I think that's what he's saying. Yep. Zil, instrument, finger cymbals, small metallic cymbals used in belly dancing and similar performances. Used in Egypt. They are similar to, I don't know what these are, Tibetan tingsha bells.
Oh, yeah, I have Tingshaw bells.
In Western music, several pairs of zills can be set in a frame to make a tambourine.
Gotcha. Oh, my
Apparently, there's
AirPods
another
just
name for
died.
them, which is fangle snaps, which I just love. Now
Fangle
I want to
snaps.
write a
That's
book
a
called
fun one.
Fangle Snap. Yeah.
It sounds like something that Dr. Seuss would have had.
Yes. Where fangle snaps go round and round. You throw them off onto the ground. Yeah, it says Zill's finger symbols. I guess in Egypt it's Sagat, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Names in other languages. Oh, there's an Arabic. Yeah, the Berbers use them. There's a couple names for them in Arabic, one in Persian, some in Turkish, and there's even a Chinese name. Huh.
Oh, I am excited.
Watch out, you're going to end up as a belly dancer with zills and your.
I tell you, I'm so excited. This is going to be great. Thank you. And I can't wait to be able to put this together and share it with our listeners as well. And yeah, as always, thank you all for coming on this wild and crazy journey with us. We never know exactly what's going to pop up or what we're going to be doing. And so I'm so excited that we were able to do all of this today and bring through this empowerment. I can't wait to hear how this affects everyone. Dance to this, sing to this, and let us know. Reach out through our websites, through the emails that are listed under the show notes, wherever you're listening to this. We would absolutely love to hear your experiences with Samael's words and with these songs and how this is helping you or what sorts of experiences you have from it.
I'm picturing that you and Keith are going to release an album called Angel Rush featuring Samael. Closing credits.
Boy,
And
I
I'm going to be
love
like,
composing music with him. This is fantastic.
compose music with an angel.
The
It's,
Calling will
yeah,
be our first single that we'll release.
the first single that you drop, right?
Exactly.
It's really funny because I'm like, he's been so quiet for all of these weeks. And now you and I are back on the podcast together, and he's like, all right, everybody get a pen. Just like wanting to give his input in terms of, I mean, I was sitting there as he was telling me this, going, oh my God, is she going to think this is super bossy? Because he's like 9 times, 3 times, sing it in a round. But I guess he is excited about it.
Yeah, well, I am always happy and at this point there is nothing that's going to sound crazy. To me it's like please at this point where would the line of crazy be exactly?
Oh, oh my gosh.
so long.
All right.
My AirPods have died. So
Oh, okay. Well,
like,
so yes, because we are, oh my gosh, this is going to be a 3-hour podcast. Look at the time. Well, her AirPods are dead, but thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into us. And as Jen said, we would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening.